Good morning. Good morning. Welcome, everybody. It is Thursday, October 23rd. Always crazy. I always have to look at the calendar to see what day it is. And I'm Phil Brilliant. I'm here for Simply Brilliant this morning. And I hope everybody is doing well this morning and looking forward to the weekend. I know we're still a couple days away, but always good to look forward to that. So, going to hit upon three things this morning. Three things, he said. Three things. And usually when I say three things, like five things come into my mind. But anyway, it's a couple things. One is I actually had the opportunity yesterday, actually four things, we'll say. Had the opportunity yesterday. I sit on the board of Community Medical Center, very happy to participate in our local healthcare system, which is a member of the RWJ Barnabas system. And yesterday had the opportunity to go to a management team retreat. It was an all-day thing. Always tough to walk away from business and go somewhere because that means I'm up all night returning emails, excuse me, doing my day job. But it was really good. It was engaging, entertaining. Mark Madigan, who is the CEO, president of RWJ Barnabas, is a a personality, a presence. He did a very good job moderating everything during the day. We had the opportunity to hear from Mikey Sherrill and Jack Chirelli. It was good to hear from them and interesting about their take on what to do with our healthcare system and if they win as governor. But also, one of the highlights of my day was actually hearing from Bill Tate. All of you know who Bill Tate is out there. If you don't, he is the new president of Rutgers University. He's got about 100 days on the job and has jumped in with both feet. Uh, really interesting guy. Really liked his presentation, his energy, and two things that I thought was actually interesting out of it, or very interesting out of it, is he said, and now he came from LSU. Before that, South Carolina, and basically he was the provost at South Carolina, was the president of LSU, and he said what helped him make his decision to come to Rutgers was he sat down at a conference room table at LSU to talk about how they were going to start changing this program and they were going to use another university's program to kind of copy and to be their benchmark, and they threw on the table the Rutgers University program on academics and athletics and this whole entire thing that they did in the Big Ten. And he goes, "Why do I need to copy it? I'll just go where they did it the first time." So it was interesting to hear that. But also, he said he lives and dies by one word, and it's called winning. 56-10 last week against Oregon was not what he sees as winning, and he's going to try to change AM, and he calls that athletics and medicine. And the RWJ Barnabas and Rutgers team is geared up to really take on huge accomplishments over the next 5 to 10 years. And he says he's going to do whatever he can do to change the sporting and athletics at Rutgers University. So we'll see how all that goes. He also has an unbelievable vision for how to really expose and expand the fact that Rutgers is in the Big Ten and expand that down into Newark and Camden. So more to follow on that. But we also had a phenomenal speaker yesterday. Her name was Carla Harris, and she's a senior client advisor at Morgan Stanley. But she's also an author and she's also a gospel singer. She's got a couple of albums out. And she said something that has stuck with me. And it stuck with me because I think about Tom's River. I think about how my management style as an owner. I think about our council meetings over the past 20 months. What she said was that her grandmother said to her, or grandfather, excuse me, said to her, "You have one mouth and you have two ears. Value listening before you speak." And I sit back and think about, the council meetings we've had in Tom's River where nobody on the Roderick team, and I'm going to point out the Roderick team, okay? Because Justin Lamb, Craig Coleman, Lynn O'Toole, and whether it's Bill Byrne or George Loebman, they have voted blindly to support anything Daniel Roderick has done. Jim Sikosi, how's that one? Oof. David Sikosi, Jim Quinlisk, and Tom Nivison have questioned have voted based upon what they've heard from the public as well as what they've heard from experts and the professionals. They've listened before they voted. They listened before they spoke. And that was what her point was, is you need to listen actively and then speak, especially when you're in a position of management leadership. And I thought about that. I was like, wow, that would be amazing if that happened in Tom's River in this council, because then we really might get something done that people in Tom's River want to have happen. Okay, let me talk about a few things. So one is, kind of things kind of escalated yesterday at the proposed Clifton Park site. And in all transparency, as you heard, I was not around yesterday, and I was not on site. I have not been on site. And it does appear that some of the residents' cries have been listened to. I say residents' cries, it's not really the right way to put it. The residents' concerns, because they saw things they were very concerned about. I said last week and also on Tuesday, I was concerned. There was an article that came out in the Shore Beat about a week ago, and I commented on it because in the article, Daniel Roderick said that include that the 1.5 to 1.7 million dollars to construct the Clifton Avenue Park included expensive demolition work that has already been completed by township employees instead of hiring an outside firm. Okay. Now, had not been completed yet, so that was a lie. Was underway. And what happened was residents started seeing truckloads and truckloads driving through their neighborhood, DPW truckloads of construction material, and traced it back to the site. And, if you look at what is listed in whether it's Reddit, whether it's realtor.com, whatever you want to use, and you look at the listings for the houses on that property, and the listings are pretty evident, but they say here's 554 Clifton Avenue, built in 1910, exterior finish, asbestos siding. You don't just tear that down and walk away. There's a proper way to handle it, and contractors know how to handle it. Nothing against our DPW, but they're not contractors. They're not trained. They don't have the OSHA training. They didn't have protective gear on to handle this, and they left debris on the site, let alone the fact, did they take it to a facility that was allowed to accept asbestos? Now, just to rewind, this property was bought in 2023 by the town for about $1.95 million. It was two properties combined together, same ownership, by the way, and they bought it. And they said they bought it for open space with no plans at that time. Well, Daniel Roderick actually voted yes at that time, which is amazing because he never voted yes before 2024. But we assume he had a plan in mind because we now see it now. Now, yesterday, representatives of the county health department, representatives of the Department of Labor in New Jersey, and representatives of, we believe to be the Department of Environmental Protection were on site. They have shut the job down. They said there are some concerns over the handling of material, how the material was disposed of at the Ocean County landfill, and also concerns about using employees who were not properly trained to handle hazardous material. And just, you know, 1 second, on your house, it's not hazardous. When it's broken, becomes friable, airborne, it becomes hazardous. Asbestosis is something we heard a lot about in the 1970s. Especially, I lived in Franklin Township right near Manville, and you had John's Mansville, where everybody was getting asbestosis from working around insulation. And so similar situations, so you need to handle it properly when you're removing it and you're demolishing it. It could also be in your flooring tiles. You ever see those old tiles on the floor? It's in acetate on how you glue those tiles together. It's in wall caulking, especially in a house that's built in 1910. It definitely is something that's there. You also have lead-based paint concerns. You get a lot of environmental concerns. And of course, yesterday, Mayor Daniel Roderick, while he was working in Irvington, was contacted by the Toms River Patch, and said that the township was told it must have someone observing the handling and disposal of the debris, making sure it was wet down. So he knew there was asbestos. He's saying here that they knew there was asbestos. He also says that the landfill they took it to was authorized asbestos disposal facility. So they knew that their contractors, i.e., Department of Public Works, was going to be handling asbestos material and weren't properly trained to do that. At the same time, he says the township engineer, John Mealy, so let's pass the blame, told him there was no indication of asbestos in an environmental report and added that many homes before 1980 in the area had asbestos shingles on the exterior. Not sure who said that or not. So it'll be interesting to see how things play out because we saw pictures. We saw the state has now shut the project down. We'll see what happens and when it comes back up. But I also wanted to point out the fact that in the Green Acres application for the state, I had an opportunity to kind of look at it. The application says no trees will be removed. There is then a tree removal form that is completed and signed by, I don't know who Shari Spiro is, but is a New Jersey licensed tree expert. And this is after the application, and it says that 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 trees will be removed. A lot more than 8 trees were removed from that site. So I think there's a lot more to be had and a lot more to be said about this site. But I'm also one, as a scientist, I wait to see the evidence. So I don't jump to conclusions, but what we know so far is the state of New Jersey and the county have shut the site down. They have great concerns. They've taken samples and they're going to investigate to see if there is more of a concern out there than they have first been told. And then more to follow as far as that goes. I want to also talk about 2 other things. One is, we are 2 days away from early voting starting. Early voting in Ocean County and Toms River starts on Saturday, October 25th and goes through November 2nd. You do that at the Ocean County Library in Toms River. And then, of course, November 4th, you go to your polling place and you go and vote. I'm somebody who votes on election day. I always do that. I always have. I'm usually the first one around 6 o'clock in the voting booth. I'm usually number 1 or 3 as it goes in. But I want to point out something from the Toms River Municipal Code, which I think is important. So we don't know what happens on elections until the results come in. But in Toms River, we know we have 3 contested races. So we have Ward 1, Robert Bianchini, who is the Republican, against Anthony Colucci, who's the Democrat. In Ward 2, we have Clinton Bradley, who's the Republican, against Susan Payne-Gatto, who's the Democrat. In Ward 4, we have David Sikosi against Justin Moran, who's the Democrat, Sikosi, the Republican. In Ward 3, we have Roderick's Harry Aber, who I've read something yesterday, which was actually really funny about Harry Aber, about how he's going to be fiscally responsible, even though he's got 2 bankruptcies, a foreclosure, and a arrest on his record, which is actually pretty funny. But there is a huge write-in campaign for James Quinlisk, who is our current councilman, who has been fighting against Daniel Roderick's chaos. If I lived in Ward 3, I'd be voting for him. I would write in James Quinlisk, Quinlisk. You write it in the day you go in to vote. And that is we the people speaking, and you as Ward 3 residents can do that. Everybody can do that. I point this out to you because if polling holds the way it is, Sikosi, Bradley, and Bianchini should win the election. They will join Tom Nivison, who have been working together with Sikosi and Quinlisk this year since he realized that Dan Roderick was full of shit. And you will then have Coleman, O'Toole, and Ward 3 is the wild card. And that's what I want to talk about. Why is Ward 3 important? If James Quinlisk Quinlisk, can get enough votes in Ward 3 on that writing and overtake Harry Aber, okay, Roderick's Harry Aber, there will be 5 votes against Daniel Roderick and 2 votes for. Why is that important? Because on any veto that Roderick does, 5 votes from council can override that veto. 4 votes cannot. So what will we have happen in Toms River if it's 4-3? We will have the same thing that happened this past year, but the reverse. So everything council approves, Roderick will veto, and we will get nowhere in Toms River. That's important, and that could go to things like purchasing automobiles, like police vehicles. That could go to the budget. That could go to appointments. I take that back. Resolutions are not vetoable by the mayor. Those are passed by council, but ordinances are, and that's the big key. So it is really important, vitally important, that one, you all get out and vote, because every vote counts. And in local elections, let's think about this. 23% of Ocean County voted in the primaries. 23%. Now, let's throw out the fact that if you're unaffiliated, you probably didn't vote because you would then have to declare a party to be able to vote. So throw them out. And there's a lot. I mean, remember, unaffiliated voters in New Jersey outnumber, I believe, the Republicans. I don't know if they don't outnumber the Democrats. 23%. If we could get 40% of Toms River voters to vote, that's going to get you somewhere around 28,000. Okay, maybe 30,000 voters. We need 18,464 signatures to have a recall. 30,000 is a lot of voters if they come out and do it. And if they do it, and in Ward 3, if they write in James Quinlisk, Quinlisk, when they go into that booth and they type it in, James Quinlisk, Quinlisk, and we get that 5th vote, then Toms River has an opportunity to change. Without that, Daniel Roderick's chaos could still reign on council and in these meetings. And it really does need to stop. And we need to have the opportunities to start changing where we are in Toms River. With that said, I think I've covered what I wanted to cover. Important facts. Early voting starts Saturday. Get out and vote. Democrats, Republicans, and you independent, unaffiliated voters are going to make the difference. I've been very, very, transparent. I support Robert Bianchini in Ward 1. I'll be voting for him. Why do I support him? Government experience. He understands flood management. He understands waterfront development. Ward 1, huge issues. Clinton Bradley in Ward 2. Military experience. He's a young, energetic guy, and we need something like that on council. Innovative ideas as a cybersecurity expert, and homegrown. Robert Bianchini, homegrown. Ward 4, David Sikosi, not homegrown. He was born in Beverly Hills, believe it or not. But he spent most of his life here in Toms River in New Jersey. He's a landowner in Toms River. He is a project property manager in Toms River, as well as other properties around the world. He is our incumbent councilman who has fought against Daniel Roderick. And I have an unbelievable amount of respect for David Sikosi, for what he has done in his life as a widow, for his kids, what he has done. And he has made sure that their life is the most important thing in his life. And as a father, that is vital to me. And that shows the heart that he has. And I really respect him for that. And last but not least, in Ward 3, it is vital. And all of you Ward 3 residents, I hope you're watching. Write in James Quinlisk, Quinlisk, because he is the deciding factor. He is the fighter. He is the person we need on council in Toms River. I wish you all a fantastic weekend. I wish Rutgers football a win in Purdue. And I am Phil Brilliant, simply brilliant. Have a great day.